Hello guys, this is Arita. Welcome to my channel. So in today's video, I'm sharing my experience flying from Paris to Tokyo, which is a 14-hour long-haul international flight with our 16-month-old. It was such an intense experience, but I'm saying it with a smile. So I want to make this video because when I was preparing for the flight, I didn't know what to expect. Of course, I looked for information, but I think nothing beats someone telling you how their experience went. Today I will talk about the preparation pre-flight, what we brought on the flight, how we manage sleeps, as well as the tips on managing jet lag once we arrived. Alright, let's get started. So pre-flight preparation. First thing is about the flight schedule. It was recommended by a lot of parents online to book night flights, which is what we did. Our flight to go was taking off at 10 p.m. and the way back was midnight. We did not book an extra seat for him, and he was too big to use the bassinet, so he was only flying on our lap. Looking back, I think the night flight definitely contributed to at least 50% of the success of our trip because it made sleeping on the flight a lot easier for the toddler. So if I'm flying again, I would definitely book another night flight with no connection, if possible. What did I bring on our carry-on? A whole lot of lightweighted and brand new toys. Stuff like stickers, coloring books, little spinners, small animals figures, and a few books that he likes to read. Also, some books that are new to him. Those are most of the toys that I brought. Regarding food and snacks, I brought mostly those pouches that doesn't necessarily require warming up, that are ready to eat. So sweets and savory for the pouches, several of them. And also to include some freshness, I took bananas and clementines. That's about it. Clothes. So extra clothes for him, extra clothes for me, in case there are any accident. For sleep, I packed his sleep sack, but the ones that are lightweighted with his hands and feet coming out, not the kind that his feet are wrapped inside because he's traveling on us. And finally, I packed everything in those Ziploc transparent plastic bag to make everything easy to see and grab without having to dig inside the bag. So here's already the first tip, is to really pack 120% of the stuff you need instead of 200. The thing is, on the way to go, as I was feeling not so confident, I totally overpacked. And because I overpacked, I needed to use the carry-on luggage to be able to fit everything, which made reaching for his stuff a lot more complicated once you're on a flight because you need to keep the luggage above in the storage, right? So on the way back, what I did differently was to pack what was needed, like really essential, and then maybe add 20%, like adding 3-4 more diapers instead of doubling the diapers that I might need. Also, not use a carry-on luggage for carrying most of his stuff. I took a bag that was okay to be left on the floor, which reduced the frictions to wanting to grab his stuff, but they are up in the luggage. Having everything that are at your arm reach made the whole trip back a lot easier. Before and arriving at the airport, as our flight was like nighttime, what we did was letting our toddler burn as much energy as possible on the day. Once we arrived at the airport, we continued to let him explore because everything was new to him, and he had so much fun that once we boarded the flight, he was so tired, and it was definitely later than his usual bedtime. He was able to sort of sleep because he was that tired and there was no fussing. If I was flying at an earlier hour, I would definitely use the playgrounds at the airports. I know most of the big international airports have it. I think it's a great option if you have to be at the airport when your baby is supposed to be playing. Find solutions at the airport, let them play. Also, another thing I did was to explain everything beforehand. Starting from maybe 2 weeks prior to our flight, I start to explain to my toddler what's gonna happen. So I show him photos of the airport, the flight, inside the flight, flight attendant, and so on. And I talk to him in details, in repetitions of what's going to happen. And I think it really contributed to his understanding, helped him to prepare mentally for the trip. When he saw the airplane that were outside the gate, he was so excited. Every time we passed by an airplane, he has to point at them and then make a super cute sound like, oh. So the last thing is to dress them in thin but multiple layers. Sometimes airplanes get hot, sometimes it's freezing. For Charles de Gaulle, for example, it was pretty hot. Even for adults, I was sweating. But then inside the flight, I was happy to have some extra thin jacket with me. You need to do and think the same thing for your kid. Activities that worked. Activities that actually worked the best was the screen on the flight was tactic, brand new. There are sounds, there are image. That was the main activity that kept him busy. We did color some books, reading to him, the stickers sticking everywhere, gave him just random stuff. But other than that, I definitely walked a lot with him. We were walking around the flight, exploring the airplane, showing him the purpose of each stuff, unusual things in baby's eyes, like huge doors, a lot of buttons, all sorts of stuff. This also contributed to a big part of his entertainment. Another activity is to eat, giving him food that he likes. I offered him a lot of things to drink to make sure he is hydrated. Give you a heads up, the changing table inside the flight are quite small. He can still lie flat, but he was really reaching the limit. Have him dressed in something easy to change to be able to access and then change everything quickly. Okay, let's talk about, in my opinion, the most important part of the flight, which is sleep. The way to go, the sleeping part was horrible for me. For the baby it was fine, but it was really, really like hell for me. But I did something differently, so for the way back, it was amazing. Here's what happened. On the flight to go, 99% of the time, I was the one holding the baby. So he was sleeping on me, like facing me, lying on me, and I have the seatbelt on him. The thing is, as he was used to sleep lying down, he was constantly wanting to turn around. When you reach a comfortable position, he wants to move, which made my butt non-stop descending. I was using the cushions to put around my butt because I kept moving, because the baby kept moving. My back was no longer supported, nor was my butt. And then I was just in a very uncomfortable position. I was in pain and I was so sleepy, but I wasn't able to sleep. So on the way back, I went and looked for a cushion like this. This is actually a seat cushion from Muji. So I have this one on the seat. So this way, when he's moving around, I also have to adjust. My butt is still fully on this cushion because it's big enough that it's not moving. Ask for like a lot of extra blankets and cushion to fill the gap around the seat and my arms, just to be able to rest my arms. Then he can put his head on my arms, but my arm is also rested. To have a backpack that is filled with stuff, put it in front of you on the floor. Have your feet supported, so raise your feet up. One last thing is the neck pillow. I didn't use like a conventional neck pillow. I find that the usual neck cushion are too in a way when your toddler is like moving around. My brilliant partner, he actually brought I think it's for medical use, but it's a very compact neck protection that normally prevents your neck from moving. I was able to rest my head. These four things combined, so the neck cushion, this seat cushion, something in the front to raise your legs up a bit, and then as for extra pillows and blankets to fill the gap, it made the whole difference. For a baby, he didn't have much trouble to sleep as long as when he was moving, his movement was supported by my arms or something. He slept fine, I think. Handling meltdowns on the flight. I was lucky that 99% of the time my baby was happy. But it did happen once. He was very tired. When they are tired, they get angrier faster. So he was playing with a pen and he wanted to draw on his own skin. Of course, I stopped him. When I took the pen away, he started screaming. What I did was I gave him the pen back and I tried to distract him with other things. Key here is to stay calm, not care about what other people around you are thinking, because your baby is having a bad time. You are going to be there to support him. I think the mindset as a parent with young kids is to be unapologetic. Kids are just kids. They are learning to control their emotions and we are there to help them. Adults are able to control their emotions. So if the adults find the kid noisy, they can just put their headphones on, right? Arrival and adjusting to jet lag. So the first 24 hours, fresh air, sunlight, and small naps. There were 7 hours difference between France and Japan. What we did as we arrived in the evening, we went straight to our hotel. I let him stay up as late as he wants. It was a new environment. We arrived at the hotel. We did the check-in. So I think by the time he slept, it was like midnight in Japan. But for his body, it was 7 in the morning. He slept for like 3 hours, 4 hours, something like this. And his jet lag kicked in. He woke up in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m. 3:30 a.m. I think it was. Me and my husband, we were like sleeping, but he woke up. So he woke us up, and I think he stood up for a good 2 hours before he fell back asleep. What we did was to keep him in bed. We didn't got up. We were still both lying down, but staying awake because we had to supervise him and then watch him play, let him play a tiny bit with him, but I used my minimum effort, like responding to him when he talked. And then I think at some point he got it. It was still time to sleep. So he turned more and more quiet. In the end, he fell back asleep, woke up again like a few hours later. And it was morning time in Japan. My partner and I were heavily jet lagged, but in order to fight it, we went out the whole day. It was sunny. So having a lot of sun on him, and then letting him sleep in the stroller whenever he felt tired, adjusting meal time to the local time, but still giving his snacks here and there in case his stomach is jet lagged. All of that was the first 24 hours. It took him maybe 2.5 days to adjust to the jet lag. Starting from the 4th day, he was having a constant schedule, like waking up at the same time, going to nap at the same time, and then going to bed at the same time. It actually was pretty smooth and everything was just instinctive. You follow the cue of your baby. And on the way back, we did exactly the same thing. And it took also something like 2 days for him to adjust back to the French time. So yeah, I think that's it. Here are some of my final thoughts and maybe encouragement to you. If you're thinking or wanting to fly with a toddler, but then you're kind of intimidated by the whole flying experience, I want to say you can totally do it. To give you a bit of context, it's actually our second time flying long-haul flight with him. The first time we did it was going back to Taiwan, so it's approximately the same distance. He was like 4 months old, and it's a whole different story, logistically speaking. It was easier, I'd say. But also, it was less rewarding because he was still very, very young and tiny. So he was mostly sleeping on me, not doing much. So just giving him milk and then sleeping, milk, sleeping. But then with the 16-month-old, they are so awake. I have to say, the best part of my trip was to watch him discover the world. It's the most amazing feeling ever. Like, I think only parents understand this. You don't care about going to places for yourself. You want to go to places for them because the kids are our entertainment. Watching them evolve is the most amazing things in the world. Yeah, so if you are thinking about doing this, I'd say just do it. You won't regret it.